Welcome back to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex and today we're taking a look at Umurangi Generation on the Nintendo Switch, a name I am for sure butchering. A first-person photography adventure though that's more than a little bit weird. Is it worth your time, and what exactly does a first-person photography adventure entail? Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. So story on this one, it throws you into a dystopian-like future. Now on the back of an impending crisis, you are a courier for the Express and you're sent into these small sandbox locations, camera in hand, with a list of photo bounties to fulfill. Now that information is taken directly from the eShop. The game doesn't really address this immediately. In fact, the opening level looks like a great place to hang out with friends. It's got this jet set radio quality to it all in its design. That's also an ongoing theme and influence for the game. Its story though, it's actually found in the locations themselves. It's not going to tell you what's happening, rather it fills these locations with clues, posters, wrongdoings, drugs, soldiers. The game's vivid neon palette nearly always has something almost sinister waiting to be uncovered or understood. It's definitely got a political edge to it as well, but I will say it's unique in the sense you could absolutely ignore it, but I found it was pretty powerful stuff that was unexpected and I was impressed with just how much there was to be found. So gameplay on the concept simple enough. Camera in hand, you're going to be dropped into a variety of locations and you'll be handed a list of bounties. The core game, it packs in 8 levels, but on the eShop you will notice it is tagged as a special edition. One thing the eShop description lacks that they really need to add in here is special edition means it actually packs in what's known as the macro DLC as well. That's basically additional gear but also 4 new levels. The first thing I did when I saw this game was compare it to the Steam price. Saw like a huge price hike from the base game, but once I confirmed the meaning behind special edition, I did realise there's no Switch tax at all here. Let's start with the obvious comparison then, that is Pokemon Snap. Now imagine Pokemon Snap if you had free movement, and as you do progress there's a whole lot of unlocks that elevate the photography experience. It adds quite a bit more depth. Think here different lenses for focal lengths, more artistic lenses like ultra wide and fisheye, and then you can even change shutter speed, aperture, ISO and flash. Not as scary as it sounds, and it's more there to use if you want to rather than, required, but it's definitely nice to see an experience that's kind of committing to a more, let's say, complicated setup. The game's tutorial though, it gives it the perfect description. If you've played a first person shooter before, it's pretty much the same thing. I cannot beat that description at all. It is spot on. Explore, point and shoot without of course the rain of bullets you may be used to. Rather, here you're greeted with an opportunity to edit your photos at this point. Here you can do things like manipulate the colour, the saturation, contrast, bloom and so on. It's another list that will grow with progression. Umurangi though just has a great grasp of its progression in rewards, whether that's lenses, filters for edits, or even later in the game skates to really boost your speed, as it kind of commits fully to its jet set radio influence, a feature I loved. They can be a little difficult to control, but they're absolutely worth it. The movement though, the photography, it's like 99% good. Now one minor quirk I found was the jumping, which can also be a double jump as well. Just a little bit awkward occasionally. I'd have to kind of position myself just right. It's not a huge deal honestly given the style of gameplay here, but the game in those latter levels will for sure demand of you some kind of aerial, let's say, mechanics that can get a little challenging because of it, because you'll find yourself kind of getting stuck on the environment. The overall target of the game though, simple enough. Look, head to a location, complete bounties to finalise a level. You'll have 24 photos available to you initially. This can be topped up in the level though with film found in each location. Basically you could, yes, technically fail I guess if you ran out of film, but I never did, and I doubt many will unless they're completely trigger happy with their photos. These bounties, they of course get progressively more and more obscure though, and obviously like challenging as well, but it's all about getting the photo it desires while meeting conditions that are built around them. So think the distance from the object as well as the type of lens you'll be using. You'll also then have bonus bounties that are completely optional, but they definitely lead to some replayability. They give you more kind of unlocks as well, and then finally a timer in the upper left of the screen. If you complete the bounties in this time, you can expect a little bonus. It's a multi-layered system though that should keep you busy for a decent chunk of time. I still definitely have some content to beat, and I'm at around the 5-hour mark at this point. Also on completion, you will unlock 2 additional modes as well. That is creative mode. It basically just gives you unlimited freedom, unlimited photos, and then speedrun mode that's going to throw in, of course, a timer. Following a mission though, you're going to see all of your hard work in a payout, and I wish you could do something with this cash, maybe buy a new skin for my camera, or even maybe some features for edits that are behind the earnings wall. Also leaderboards, that could have been a real nice touch here as well, so you can see who can, take the best collection of photos. Photos then, they can be highly edited, but the game embraces the idea that art is subjective, so it's working on the 3 C's for scoring, that is colour, content and composition. All the other tweaks you'll find here are purely for entertainment value basically, but they are a blast to experiment with, and I definitely got lost more than a few times in a few of my photos. My last point on gameplay then, that is the frame rate, and it's aiming for 60, but with busier locations it definitely does struggle, and you will feel it at times in the movement, as it can be, locked at 61 moment, then down to around 45 the next. I actually don't think it's too bad honestly, and I don't think it particularly impacts the game given the more kind of relaxed pace of it all. But, it's something that I wanted to put out there because I know it's always a big conversation point around Switch releases. Overall though, I'm impressed. Not only does the camera play have this nice level of depth that I wasn't expecting, but the game just makes you want to explore thanks to this intriguing world and message. Visually then, it's going to be an acquired taste, no question about it. The Jet Set Radio influence immediately apparent though, thanks to its use of neon, spray paint, almost breakdancing, skating, that kind of world. I just don't remember the drug addict's political message or war from that particular title that you're going to find contained here. Neon though, I'm a fan. Like, you've all seen the channel logo here on YouTube, so this immediately did appeal to me. It's just also incredibly pixelated, but by design, it all kind of plays into a style that I adore, which is kind of early days 3D. The cast of characters though, unique, the shifting tone handled perfectly in my eyes, that sense of, something's almost just slightly out of sight, and then the locations, it takes you all over the place from, rooftop parties to a war to trains to arcades. The only minor issue, the very occasional moment of pop-in, but these were in very busy locations. They were never anything that would, harm the game or a challenge I was facing, and I would also call it rare overall. But yeah, honestly, good stuff on a visual front, and I'm happy to say it's consistent throughout. Audio finally, and the soundtrack here is a winner. There's some minor sound effects here and there, mostly related to the camera itself. The world itself is largely ignored. I would have loved to have seen maybe just a little bit more in there, but still, like, what a soundtrack this is, and it more than makes up for it. Composed by Adolf Nomura, it's basically stylistically just varied throughout, but always in keeping with the theme of each level, and it's just another great example here of audio that doesn't just reinforce the moment but elevates it entirely. You can check it out though over on Spotify, where you'll find an 82 song 2-hour album that I strongly suggest you do. It seems to be getting a final release as well. That seems to be in the works, or at least I'm hoping that is true, the information I'm finding, and if that's the case, I'll be a day one buyer. So overall, Umurangi Generation is an experience I went in unsure of what was ahead of me, and coming out it surprised throughout, even though I still can't pronounce the name of the game. Yes, as described, it's a first-person photography adventure, but it's the world and its statement that definitely surprised me. Throw in then some serious depth to its mechanics in a world that just demands you explore, and yes, it might be kinda short, but I'm left sitting here wanting to dive back in. Hopefully a sequel of some sorts is planned though, because it's really something special that deserves a whole lot of attention. The question really is now, will it find that success on the Switch, or is this one destined to be a cult game that I basically need to bang on about now for the next few years? Only time will tell, but outside of a few awkward, platformer moments, frame drops that don't really impact things, and maybe an opportunity, I would say, to expand what your cache does and kind of leaderboards, I really do have those few complaints. It's a great 8 out of 10 from me, and a strong recommendation if you ever wanted to see Pokemon Snap meets Jet Set Radio, but all of it's on crack at the same time. This is going to be the game for you. Will you be adding this one to the library though, or are you going to be holding onto that cache? With that, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Now if you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.